Okay. Well, thank you, John. Thank you all for being here. For those who haven't met yet, my name is Wesley Schlimmer. I am the president of the Bitcoin Bay Foundation. We are a 501c3 based up in Tampa, and our mission is building a prosperous, resilient community on a sound money standard. We help coordinate the Tampa, St. Pete, Sarasota meetup and Bitcoin circular economy. So we got businesses, individuals, politicians, everyone. We're kind of brain Bitcoin in the Bay Area. John, I mentioned earlier, we have our Gasparilla Festival next week. It's the world's first Bitcoin parade float. Spots up high for, come talk to me afterwards. Bitcoin Day Tampa and the Sound Money Soiree are going to be a joint venture on June 14th. So mark your calendars for that one. But we got a good panel today. We're going to talk about prepping for fiat failure. We had a great panel already with all of the, outlook for the next year. So we're going to talk about what you as an individual can do other than just buying Bitcoin. All right. Well, we got a great panel today. You've, probably seen several of them at speeches before. So welcome everyone. We have Nick, John, Chris, and Paul. So come on up, y'all.
Something.
Whoever gets up here first, introduce himself first.
I'm going to sit in the water that thought this way. Don't be.
Okay, so John, you're right here listening to them.
Hold your mics close to your chin.
All right. Yes, you're there. So we'll just start with you, John, and kind of go down the panel. Why don't you introduce yourself, kind of tell everyone a little bit about yourself, what you're prepping for.
Yeah, so I'm a small business owner. I have a taco place in Miami. We accepted Bitcoin, and I've since moved on to Passion Projects, which is launching a digital privacy platform, I wanted to have it done for this conference, but a few weeks out. And we have been continuously removing ourselves from the system as a family. And so happy to be here, and welcome everybody, and we'll get to it.
Thank you, John. I'm also a small business owner, quant and vol freak by background. I run 2 hedge funds, one of which was the third one ever in the Bitcoin space. Owned businesses since I was 24 years old, been in asset management since 2006. And like John, I'm preparing and have prepared for the end of this paradigm.
Paul Tarantino. I have a background in traditional finance. And in March, I moved full-time to Byte Federal, which is a Bitcoin ATM company in Venice, Florida, and I am the CEO there.
I'm Nick. I work with the Bitcoin conference. Been in the space, been investing in Bitcoin for about 5-6 years now. Basically waiting for the end of fiat, which we're going to talk about now.
All right, yeah. So we kind of got everyone's 2025 outlook earlier this morning, and there's all sorts of when shit hits the fan. But it's been hitting the fan, for quite some time now. But the big one. What? And I'll just kind of go down the line again. What do you see as the most likely, shit in the fan? Like war, banking collapse, another, or another, what exactly are you attributing the most likelihood to happening in the near term?
I think it's the stuff that we're not paying attention to, which is some call it 5th generation warfare, whether it's attacks in the food supply, attacks in the energy around us, 5G, all of these things that are kind of woo-woo that people don't want to pay attention to, whether it's the lines in the sky. They're normalizing all of this, and they want us to be distracted by the normal, predictable attack variants that can happen. Everybody thinks of a war as a kinetic war, but if you read deeper, then it is very much not a kinetic war. And we need to be doing things, for one, open our minds to be able to realize this and not shut it down, and then start taking precautions. And this is a whole topic in and of itself, but we've been in this a long time, and they rely on us being very comfortable in the convenient mental prison which has been erected around us for generations in order for us not to take action. And so I think it's time to blow open the box, because we don't have a lot of time. And we need to understand who we are, where we are, what we are biologically really, what the financial system is really. And then we need to start not restricting our mind to be able to deal with these things.
Yeah, I think it was, and Chris, you probably know the specific, but it was a NATO 2014, 2016 document. Basically, it was the new battlefield is the mind. And the conclusion that NATO came to was that if we don't psyop our citizens, Russia or China is going to. And then everything kind of kicked off, started getting weird around 2015. At least when that was the weird ever,
Well, it started in 95, but the date you're searching for is 2012, and then they've done 21 and then 27 and 2030. Those are all key dates.
And so what do you think's being missed? Everyone is preparing for something, but what are people not catching in this?
They're not catching any of it. I mean, where do you want me to go with it? What you guys want to hear the truth? You can't handle the truth. I'm sorry.
Yes, please.
What is your highest likelihood shit hit the fan scenario?
It has hit the fan. There's no other vector left.
Yeah, like John was saying, we are at war right now, and people are not waking up to it fast enough. So, when you talk about the fog we saw recently, you talk about
It was here yesterday driving down.
this all sounds like I'm batshit crazy. Fine, go there. I don't care, because I've seen the real effects of this in everyday life of people around the world, people that I interact with every day, that are under attack and don't realize it. So the enemy is within, and this war is here. And we just have, a lot of us, not all, maybe a lot of you in this room are already there, but a lot of people have not yet realized that we are in the midst of it. And we'll get down to Nick. You're probably, we just met today, so I know, how are you preparing? Are you?
Well, yeah, I mean, just like Trump is proposing a strategic Bitcoin reserve, I think everyone in this room and everyone in America and the world should also have their own individual strategic Bitcoin reserve, because at the end of the day, the Fed is going to continue to be the Fed, and they're going to continue to print money. Just like Larry, who was up here earlier, he wrote a book called The Big Print. It's inevitable. It's coming. It's been happening, and we just all need to prepare ourselves individually for that event.
We also need to prepare if they don't.
I agree.
And so what does that look like if that break doesn't come?
It's the great taking. They don't need to, it's all an illusion, guys. It's all a fucking illusion. Number go up is like the biggest drawback to being in the Bitcoin space. Its price in fiat does not matter. And if you are in it to convert it to more fiat, you're a fool and shouldn't even bother. If your consciousness is that low, where that is your goal, there's the door. This is not a low T, high time preference space. This is for ideally a spiritual warrior class that will survive what has started. And I hope all of you can gather some chutzpah and inner strength from this and raise your consciousness and awareness. But the reality of it is that central banking is just a construct because we allow it to occur. It's only about 1,100 years old, and its only modern form about 170 years old. And as Larry pointed out, it's all about will. Do we want to let everything look like it's fallen to shit? The world's been in a fucking depression for years, right? If you back out the capex from governments and just look at the private sector and back out the labor participation, what percentage of the population of America is not positively accretive to GDP? Does anybody know that number? It's roughly 48%. Do you think that's sustainable? What's the first and second largest capex, as Mark pointed out, of our government budget?
Entitlements?
Yeah, including sick care. It's not health care, it's sick care. We're going to keep you sick and extract wealth from you. That's right. So, I don't know what it's going to take to wake up, but whoever doesn't is not going to make it much longer, because as John said, this is in play right now the Trump-controlled opposition. It's an illusion again, and you're all getting duped again.
Yeah, let's go ahead. I totally agree with what Chris is saying here, and you can sense it if you've been in this space long enough. The announcement at Nashville was a double-edged sword because you got the sense that, hey, congratulations, Bitcoiners, you're all going to be rich. Go get in that pen, and we're going to shut the gate. But you're going to be rich. And that's a massive distraction because we didn't get into this space because it was all about number go up. Most Bitcoiners got into this space because they were awake and they were aware and they were conspiratorial and they didn't trust the government. They had questions and they wanted answers, and this was a way to rug pull the people that were fleecing you.
Paul, why did BlackRock get into it? How come Gemini's ETF wasn't approved?
No, why did JP Morgan all of a sudden like gold and become the custodian?
I like gold.
They must be figuring some stuff out.
Yeah.
So long story short, the battle has just begun. And we need to take this congratulations, you're going to be rich, and turn that into real change. KYC AML is not sustainable. AI will destroy it. We need to come with the solutions. We need OG Bitcoiners that are going to become incredibly wealthy to be powerful, awake individuals that take us to the new future. We will not have that future if we don't do what Chris said, raise our consciousness and fight the fight. So hopefully you're all with me because this is where it's at.
Yeah. And I think all of us here should share personal views of what it means to try to do that, right? Like some of it is spiritual and in prayer, meditation, reflection. A lot of it is health in getting metals and toxicity and pathogens out of your body, using all of your 7 senses. You have more than 5. And then understanding what we're actually facing, going through ego death and the trauma when you realize what you're facing, and then be a kinder, gentler, more harmonious with nature being to bring up your community. And I think that's where the easiest place to start is.
And being kinder and gentler does not mean you're weak.
Only the strong can be kind and gentle.
Yeah, and I think it's important to understand what we're talking about when we say financial system. It has always been a human control system. It is not a finance thing. Bitcoin is not a finance thing to me either. And if you think about us, not as they taught you to think about us as weak biological creatures evolved from pond scum, if you think about us as energetic beings that have a real measurable energy around us, then we are in this physical existence, producing things, putting energy into things, and this energy is then confiscated over time through these financial mechanisms. But what they're really doing is stealing human energy and the human spirit. They then take that, and over time, they use that energy and they put it into constructs in order to create a false reality. They do that through all the media, all the false history, all the education. They buy armies, they buy educational systems, they buy all that stuff. All the history is basically fake. And so we need to zoom out enough to realize that what we're doing is protecting our spirits, right? Bitcoin is a money thing to get rich to some people, but what it is a impenetrable barrier to siphoning off human energy over time. And when we think about it that way, and we think about the other lies about, we'll probably get into it, energy scarcity is a myth, there's free energy everywhere, it's coming out all the time. The deflationary effects just of Bitcoin alone are incredible, but then you say, what about free energy? Well, then that brings everything basically down to abundant. Well, if we're abundant, then what can we focus on? We can focus on enlightenment and creation, and that's what we're here to do. So we need to stop the stealing of human spirit, and we need to understand that we're in a mental construct, right? Look at any of history, and you can poke holes in it. And when people start to realize, wait, this is far different, and I'm going to rewatch The Truman Show because they're telling us right there what they're doing, that everybody will accept the reality that they're presented.
It was pre-programming?
Might have been.
And I love the free energy concept, because you look throughout history and anyone who's created low-cost free energy is gone. Literally gone. Their technology is shelved. Their patents are confiscated. That should tell you all exactly what's happening.
Here's a fun one. Anybody know where the great-great-grandson of George Washington is? Anybody know where the great-great-great-great-great-great-great-grandson of Leonidas is?
Right here. According to my uncle, at least.
Those bloodlines have been murdered. History's been rewritten and rewritten and rewritten and rewritten. The version we're in now began to be rewritten in 1871 to 1920. And what you think about how the West was settled is bullshit. It's very easy to debunk all of this by just finding the books the ADL banned. Like, literally go find that list. So I think what we're here to really primarily do is shock you into your best self. And if you're going to remain an NPC, SDE cuck, by all means, you have the free will to do it. But where the hour is too late to worry about, okay, and Larry's 1,000,000% right, the probability of Bitcoin going to 140 is really high in the next 100 days. But the probability of it going to 60 in the following 100 days matters not to what we're actually facing. Right? So, you know, I don't want to overstep all your questions, so I'll shut up.
I've already thrown out all of my questions, and I've come up with new ones.
Should we take some Q&A?
We got Q&A at the end.
Okay.
We're gonna save 15 minutes at the end, and John will give me away whenever it's time for that. So the questions that I had were they were more like the low hanging fruit of, you know, like what are you doing to prep, you know, like all that stuff. But it sounds like this is not a thing you can be physically preparing for anymore.
No, it is.
But it sounds like
It's
it's more
both.
mental.
It's both.
Okay.
You have to, right? So personally, I bought 10 acres in the middle of nowhere. I've got water going in. I've got power going in. I've got alternative power going in. It's being fenced. There's going to be cattle. There'll be sheep. Sustaining the
way I like to think of this is that the future is tech and commodities, deflation and inflation. It's no longer the 60-40 equity bond portfolio. Your future, your life is mastering tech, mastering commodities, securing the resources you need, and understanding how to use technology to be sovereign. And so you take that mental model and you apply it to the real world and how you conduct business, how you make money, how you secure resources, how you protect your family, how you feed yourself. Good food is your medicine, so that coincides with healthcare. And so that this is sort of the mental model I'm using to prepare in the real world and in the digital world. So, Nick, you got anything?
No, I agree that you know, good food is essential. If you look at what most Americans consume, what's in our food, and how that corrupts our bodies and our minds, it's literally meant to keep us in a certain funk per se. So getting out of what we were told, what is good for us, what is bad for us, and start questioning everything yourselves, it really leads to a spiritual journey that's enlightening. And one of the things I love about being in this community is that we are very, not just we don't trust, we verify. So we do our own research, and that makes us better people overall and willing to learn and be humble in that situation.
Yeah, that was definitely, for me, one of my, you know, I found Bitcoin. So like my background is chemical and biological engineering. I worked in biotech for a few years, and I was my chemical safety officer for my lab. And when I started seeing the chemicals that I needed to wear a mask and gloves to handle in my food, polysorbate 80, you know, aluminum trichloridex, you know, it's just like polysorbate. It's like, well, hang on a second. What is this doing in here? I'm not even supposed to touch this, but I'm supposed to consume this. And then, so that was the whole other rabbit hole. And I know a lot of people come, you know, the rabbit holes all intersect and intertwine. And when you're searching for truth, you start finding it. You know, and I've kind of adopted the whole thing's fucked, and I don't need to keep flipping rocks over to look for roaches. You know, just like, you know, I'm like, all right, it's turtles the whole way down. Now what do we do? So try cutting sugar out of your life. Like, you're gonna have to really try. because it is difficult. Don't go into the inner aisles in the grocery store. Stay around the outside. Like, what for you guys was kind of like the low hanging fruit that, like, a normal person, not someone who's crazy tinfoil, which it's not even tinfoil anymore, it's aluminum foil, and the tinfoil actually did block radio frequencies. Aluminum foil, it doesn't. But for the individuals in the audience, like what do you think is like a good, like
80%, like the 80-20, like what's like something simple that can actually have a large impact?
Yeah, so I spent the last several years with mission critical opting out of the system. And so for me, it's the money, which we're talking about here today. It's the law. So there's a fake legal veneer placed over the constitutional republic since many, 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 many decades. So everybody should, go to the Amazon or whatever and search for Meet Your Straw Man, right? You got to get into common law. You got to understand that, because we're being duped every day with this stuff. You're paying your speeding tickets and your taxes, and you're feeding the beast. Then you have to get out of the food and water, right? My mother is an incredible homesteader, and we spent a huge amount of effort moving her to the panhandle of Florida, and she's doing amazing things. We have to get out of the education, homeschool your kids, do whatever you got to do it. Doesn't matter if you have to liquidate whatever, homeschool your kids, or else they will fight against you later. Then you have to get out of the death system called the medical system, and you have to understand that what they tell us is wrong with us is not wrong with us, whether it's cancer or anything else. And get into herbalism, put the right food in your bodies, and ignore what they're telling you. And then you have to learn how to physically defend yourself, kinetically. You have to learn how to digitally defend yourself through digital privacy, which is why I'm passionate about it. We can talk about it all day long. And then you have to free your mind. And that's the biggest thing. If you're your own worst enemy, then free your mind. There are no conspiracy theories. It is all real.
Thank you, John. This is why I even am charitable with my time away from my family. It's because of people that are on stage with me here and you all here. That consciousness that he just dropped on you, if it's not resonating with you, please leave. Like what he's describing is maritime admiralty law. What I hope some of you know is that when you write numbers out, there is a frequency field around those numbers. Do you know how they track our aura? Your fucking social security number. It's your slave number. USA Inc. owns you. And how can we prove that? You can find it, everything from Albert Pike from back in the day to David Webb. David Webb. Like, this is not gray. This is black and white. You don't already own your stocks and bonds. Like, people staying in that are retarded and deserve to lose their money. It's a third derivative, and you don't own it. Your securities rights began being taken from you the moment the Federal Reserve took its third iteration in 1913, but more specifically 1964 through 2010. You already own nothing and like it. They can already kill all of us basically with a remote control, because our bloodstream are operating systems for the Internet of Things. If you don't know that, you're almost too late, but we're going to share as much as we can. And then to John's point and to Paul's point, here's the easy list to do by tomorrow. You need a water source, land, a combination of solar and copper wire, Tesla-style power, and then you need to secure whatever you don't want to lose. What I've done is I have a combination of hard precious metals in hand, a shit ton of Bitcoin in hand, business based on Bitcoin, and then ammo, 6 months to a year of stored dried foods, and then the skill sets to create more food, as Paul mentioned. Those are the lists you can do right now. And then whatever you have in your stock, bond, and bank accounts, just mentally write it off. Whatever number you want to leave in that, you have to understand that the probability of them taking it in the next 12 months is extraordinarily high. And it'll be some sort of QE bail-in combination. They've already written the plan out.
I agree with everything that's being said. The only thing I can maybe add value to is to sort of create a framework in your mind that you're living in a post-truth world. That you can no longer believe half of what you hear and only what you see, or whatever that saying was, right? You really can't believe anything unless you're feet on the ground shaking someone's hand. And so when you are observing the digital world and you're observing social media, you need to come to it with the realization that these are all ideas, these are all potential timeframes, these are all agendas, these are all psyops, these are all things that are being pushed at me to make me think a certain way, as opposed to getting back on the soil and dealing with your neighbors and in your community and having real life relationships. And that's a whole nother timeline when you're in that space than what we're living at day to day. And so much of what we do on social media is a distraction from you manifesting the reality that you want to live in. So if you focus on that and you realize that and you set the phone down, walk away, detox, get inside yourself and think, what is the future I want to see? What is the future I want to live? And then go, you'll be able to manifest that, you'll be able to build that because you're not distracted. They want you distracted. Get back to yourself, what's right for you, what's right for your family, and make that happen, and you can do it. We have spent so much time and so much energy just giving it away, like John said, right? They're sucking that out of you continuously, and the more we participate in it and partake in it, the less we're doing for building up ourselves.
So it sounds like real relationships, real interactions are worth and more important than anything that you could ever do on the social media, the internet.
Yeah.
Obviously.
Yeah, you are sitting at the end of the line, so I know it's hard, because these guys just suck up all the air in the room, and then you're like,
We'll do a snake draft. We'll start.
You know, I'm enjoying the conversation. I'm learning at the same time as I'm here. So
this poor guy's like, yeah, I agree.
I do.
Exactly, I know.
Hey, so what first for something that I've heard recently that resonated with me was, can you sit in your head for 60 seconds with no thoughts? Are you able to say, be quiet, and actually spend 60 seconds in silence without thoughts intruding? I couldn't do it. I made it like 5 seconds. I've been, every night.
Should work on that.
I have been. I'm up to 30. But it's literally that, your brain is a muscle that, you don't realize you're being bombarded constantly. And if you aren't able to control your thoughts, that something ends. So I guess what do you got?
We'll go this way. Okay, all right. Yeah,
That's a great point. Like, if anyone that's ever meditated knows that, the more you do it, you get caught drifting away, and then that's part of the meditating journey. Okay, well, it happened quick. All right, well, I'm not going to quit. I'm going to continue doing it. Okay, so 10 seconds, 5 seconds turns into 10 seconds, which turns into 15 seconds. And the more you do it, even though it's hard, the more you get in tune with yourself and what really matters, and you get more clarity on what you want your future to look like. And it's very hard to do in a world that's just constantly giving you alerts, notifications, whether it's on Twitter, X, whatever you want to call it. There's so many distractions, and the only way to get out of that is to get into yourself and sitting with yourself and sitting with your thoughts and understanding why you have those thoughts, where those thoughts come from. And it's very healthy. It's a very good journey that everyone should take.
Paul, do you do any meditation? Have any routine for that?
I don't, but I find some of my activities meditative. So when I do a lot of fly fishing. And when I'm in the act of pursuing a specific fish with a fly rod, I get in a state where that focus blocks everything else out. And so spending a day on the water and doing that does unlock, for me, an ability to then be clear about what's important in my life and what I want to achieve. So it is sort of a detox or a meditative state through action. And I've experienced that through surfing. I've experienced that through other activities that I'm passionate about.
What also, like, you really want to start doing, in our opinion, is, in addition to what Wesley said about sugar and various obvious things not to put in your body, well, probably ahead of that, you need to get off all the pharma. Like, just stop today. Stop taking anything any allopathic doctor gave to you. They're wrong. They're literally wrong. And that will prepare your body to be enhanced with meditative activities like Paul just described. You're not going to be able to go, oh, I really want to do that, but you're eating shit and you're taking shit. Because then that's what prevents your body from resonating and your mitochondria literally using their full potential to get to homeostasis. So I really would highly recommend, with the easiest place to start is drop the pills, maybe not in the water supply, but dispose of them somewhere else. The frogs, they're gay.
No, they're not. They're trans. It's different.
I'm not good with definitions.
Maybe taper the drugs though, because sometimes they like bad alcoholism, like it might just kill you. But don't taper them off.
I was just gonna say for me, like I was out here on these peripheries saying like food's screwed up, finance is screwed up, the education system is screwed up, and then all of a sudden here's Bitcoin, at the middle of this giant spoke of corruption that was like this guiding light that said, this is real, this is truth, this is something that can collapse this corruption around it. And so I like to think of it, people waking up on the spokes, and through that process, hopefully finding Bitcoin. And then using that as the tool that enlightens you to see the issues everywhere else on that wheel, because money interacts with everything. And so once you find sovereignty through your money, it does empower you to begin to break off those spokes where a lot of the other corruption lives. So that just came to mind, sorry.
Yeah, I think getting back to the meditative or being within yourself, this one will bake your noodle. So there's some good indication, and this is how old this stuff is, that in the 1600s was the first time they started introducing the concept of the future, right? That before that, there was a nowness which doesn't exist right now, and some people call that the ever-present, ever-changing now. And that's all there is. There is no future. What the future concept is doing is saying, I need to distract my attention and my true potential in this moment to create or to be or to do whatever I'm going to do, where all the action takes place, to distract yourself into some future which does not exist. And through all this noise that we get, we are then thinking about possible futures which may or may not exist. And if you take that a step further, there's, I forgot the name of the guy, but there was a very interesting comment that he made in an interview that is, if we believe something collectively will happen, it will happen, because we are, in the end, co-creators in this physical experience, and we are all part of something much grander. You know, I think the biggest thing to get to is, I had a similar experience. Bitcoin was, I was always groggy. I wasn't asleep, but I wasn't awake, and I was like, this doesn't make sense. Everything's too complicated. What is that for? I don't know. I'm just going to do my thing. Bitcoin ripped me out of the matrix. It was a very impactful moment, and we sold our house, and we changed our business, and we started going. And then it's like, what is true? Well, if truth is like water, and it's tainted downstream, and you need to eventually find your way to the source, and the source that I found is the biggest lie of all, in my opinion, is that they want us to believe that the physical creates the consciousness. But it's really the opposite, and that the consciousness creates the physical, and we are all part of that, and we are all co-creators. And if we are creators, then we're very powerful beings, and there's a huge incentive to try to control that. And that is what money is. That is the monetary system. And so if we focus on being in the ever-present now, nothing else matters but now. Put down the phones. Be with the fellow souls right here. My son is right over there. There's nothing more important than that.
He just said put down the phones, dumbasses. Fuck.
So I do hate to do this, but we got
5-minute warning. So I want to do quick final thoughts. We could try and get some questions.
One quick thing. Sorry to cut you off. Like you go to a concert, you come to a conference, and a lot of people you see, they're taking out their phone to record it to enjoy it later, while they have an opportunity to enjoy it in that moment, and they lose that opportunity to be present while it's actually happening, just so they could post it on a social media for other people's likes, attention, and everything else, instead of doing it for themselves or doing everything for everyone else. And that's the problem, or that's the difficulty with social media, and the balance that we face is that we want everyone else's attention and we suffer our own enjoyment for that. So I encourage people, whenever they go to a concert, when they're at a conference, don't record it for other people to post and get feedback on later. Do it for yourself and get something out of those moments, because that is what you're going to be able to carry on through the rest of your life.
This is profit level shit. Congratulations. This is
Thought.
profit level stuff that people are delivering here for your benefit. And you have God-given free will. Do with it what you will. But just understand that you have the power and the ability to get out of that paradigm, literally right now. Paul?
I'll just say I'm just grateful to be on this panel with all these guys. They're brilliant. Some of you I just got to know in the last few minutes, and happy to be here.
Likewise, Paul.
John?
Yeah, likewise, happy to be here. And I would just say that, we spend all this time looking for leaders to save us, and what are they going to do? And it should occur to us all that we don't need them to save us. So let's get to work.
Thank you, guys. We got time for a couple of questions. I will leave y'all with this. As a Man Thinketh by Paul Allen. 45 pages of kind of what we just talked about. It's a great book. There was somebody who started earlier who had the first question who I told to wait.
I was just curious what happened starting in 1985.
What started in 1995?
Is anybody smart here?
Not compared to you.
No, this is just regurgitating fact. This is not IQ.
I have no
What-
idea. I have no idea. So
What
please.
happened in 95? Touche, Maddie, touche.
3 minutes.
Well, the 42-year-old will be the old guy here. I too was very young in 95. All right, internet. Prior to 95, what was it? Dial up. Then what happened? Broadband. Who is the effing broadband?
We are, is what he said.
Does anybody know how their cell phones work? WBAN. Oh my God. You all have lots of homework. I'll stop there. Did that answer your question?
The internet.
And then it went from a dial-up semi-analog to, in the energy spectrum that's all around us, using our mitochondria, electrolysis, red blood cell, etc., to send information through the air. Correct. She is smart. You did raise your hand. Thank you.
You can research Internet of Bodies to get going.
One or two more questions. Benji.
Paul talked about tech sovereignty.
Tech is a tool. Use it. Don't be used by it.
Essentially said more simplistically, we want everybody to be the happiest, dialed-in MFers from bottom up, because harmony will just exude. Renaissance, enlightenment will just exude naturally once we achieve that. We don't want anybody afraid, anybody anxious, anybody thinking they're missing out. And that's the goal of all of this information and awareness.
Is it quick? All right, let's hear it.
Well, Paul, there's a reason money is called currency. It's because it's all energy. There's a great teacher that once said that where your treasure is, that's where your heart will be also. So I'm glad to see a segment like this on.
Where your focus goes, your energy flows.
And to your point, words are symbols.
Thank you all for indulging in this.
Yes.